Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Hey, it's Leif Gaffert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Rory Williamson.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Rory, and joining me are co-hosts Lawron.
Hello.
And Lawrson.
Howdy, howdy.
And also joining us today is a very special guest. We have actress Nika Futterman, who provided the voice of Asajj Ventress, TC-70, Dono, Shaeeah Lawquane, Eekway Papanoida, Snootles, and Gardulla the Hutt in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Alissa Vincent in Dead Space Downfall, Styx the Badger in Sonic Boom, Chum Chum in Fanboy and Chum Chum, Belle Pepper in Sanjay and Craig, Rosie in Open Season, Squeeze the Pliers in Handy Manny, Sif and Hela in the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Girl 2, and Shu Mai in Kinect Star Wars, Angela in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy animated series, Catwoman in Batman the Brave and the Bold, Gamora in Disney Infinity 3.0, Disney Infinity Marvel Superheroes Ultimate Spider-Man, Marvel's Avengers Assemble and Hulk and the Agents of S.M.A.H, Raging Raven in Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, Smellerbee in Avatar The Last Airbender, The Presence in Star Wars Rebels, Cheek in Star Wars The Old Republic, Nima Cruz in Jurassic Park the Game, and Madame Tang and Scarlet in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Legend of Jack Sparrow. And I am so glad I had some water before I started saying all that. How are you today, Nika?
I'm awesome. Hey, thanks for reminding me of some of the work I've done. I don't remember. I was like, oh yeah.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
So awesome. This is, my brain doesn't work like it used to. But this is so cool. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you join us today. I would have read out some more, but I might have lost my voice from those, and I want to keep it for the questions.
Hey! Oh, well, let's do this then.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, getting right into my first question for you, Nika. My first question is, how did you decide you wanted to become an actress?
Well, specifically a voice actress or an actress?
How about
what were you
both?
gonna say?
How about both?
Well, it's interesting because, I don't do any regular acting anymore. I just do voiceover. And now it's been a long time since I just do voiceover. Because when I was a kid, I didn't even know that voiceover existed. I didn't know that people did that for a living. So my whole plan was that, I wanted to do television or movies or whatever. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to be an actress. So I eventually got myself to LA and I was doing television mostly. And I somehow hooked up with a manager at the time when I was young, when I was in my early 20s. And my whole thing at that time was I was sort of, I guess, I was going to say I was a comedian, but I don't know if comedian's the right word because I wasn't like a stand-up comedian, but like my thing was I was kind of doing funny television. And my dream when I was younger is like wanted to do like Saturday Night Live or Mad TV or one of those kind of shows. And so that was what I thought my life was going to be. But so when I was on an audition, I met this manager and she said, hey, you're not going to get the parts, but I was wondering, because actually she was a casting person at the time. She's like, I'm trying to start a management company. I was wondering if you are looking for a manager. And I was young and I didn't have a lot going on at the time. And I was like, well, I don't really have anything to manage, but, okay. And so I started working with her, and the first thing she said to me is, "You should be doing voiceovers." And I was like, "What's that?" And she's like, funny voices. And I thought, hey, I already do this anyway. Somebody's going to pay me to do it. Awesome. Sure, I'll try that. And then somehow, like 6 years into it, I quit everything else because I thought, this is perfect for me. I never was one of those people who wanted to be famous. I just wanted to do what I love and make a living doing it. And so voiceover was perfect for me because I could kind of hide and nobody knew who I was, and I could play lots of different characters, and I could do all my funny stuff. And that's really, so basically the long-winded version of that answer, which I just gave you I just gave you the long-winded version. The version is that the real answer is that I fell into it, having no idea it even existed.
That is really interesting, and it makes sense because I feel a lot of voice actors like that they're not, as famous as on-camera people is. A lot of people like hiding from that sort of fame.
Totally. I think they're like most voiceover people are sort of that way, except, there's still, a lot of voiceover people who are, still actors or, doing on-camera acting. But I guess there's plenty of voiceover people who like, the fame that it brings in a certain way. But I'm pretty happy, hiding behind the microphone and making people happy that way. But, actually being able to have a regular life.
Yeah.
That works for me.
But I meant also in the sense that, voice actors are a lot less likely to be recognized in the street, and they like that sort of thing, like that they don't.
Totally.
No.
Yeah. You can just be a regular person, but it's just like the perfect gig, you can make a living doing this thing that's so much fun and brings joy to people, but you don't have to like deal with like the ego thing of like what you look like, or you can play all different characters and it has nothing to do with what you look like or how old you are or whether you are a man or a woman. And you can do it forever, hopefully I can do it forever.
Yeah, exactly. And we
however
hope
long my forever is.
and we hope you'll be doing it forever as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So, moving on to my second question for you, Nika. So, in Season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, Count Dooku attempted to eliminate Asajj Ventress, your character, and this began her journey to going from a villain to an anti-hero. What did you think of the decision to have Ventress become an anti-hero when you found out what the plan for her character was?
Well, like everybody, like the audience of Star Wars, when you're in the cast of, a Star Wars show, you are also kept in the dark. So you have no idea where things are going. Sometimes they'll give you like a little hint of what's going to happen. So I was totally surprised too, but I was really happy because, when you're playing sort of the bad guy in a show, a lot of times it can't go very far. Your storyline can't go many places because, even if you're trying to make the character like this multi-layered being, sometimes when you're a bad guy, you can only go so far. So for me, I was like, oh, this is so amazing. We're going to get to see this sort of change in this character and really understand what she's about, even more so than what was happening in what you guys already saw. The bummer is that we never actually got to really go there because then the show ended. So I was really psyched because I was like, yes, it's going to be this whole other storyline, and she's going to be this bounty hunter, and you're going to get to see who she can eventually become, and then maybe she'll sort of, you'll get to see the goodness in her, which you did a little bit, but that's, so I was really psyched. The problem is that, then the show went away. So I was psyched, and then I was bummed.
Yeah, and I definitely do. It's really interesting what you say as well, because in Season 3, 4, and 5, in the bits we see of Ventress in those seasons, like we do see, as you say, hints of it, but we don't get to see the whole story of that. And so it's really interesting what you're saying. It's like you're trying something new and getting to taste it, and then not being able to finish whatever it is you're tasting.
You didn't get to see it. It was like it was the weirdest thing because we didn't know the show was going to end, and so a lot of stories kind of got cut off in the middle, and that was it. So that was a little frustrating. But that kind of stuff happens all the time on shows where not so much that, because the thing about the Clone Wars was that it was like everything was about story, where other series that you're on, each episode is its own story basically in a lot of ways. But with Clone Wars it was like this, saga that we were hoping was going to go on and on and on and on, and it didn't. It jumped to a whole new show, with Disney and stuff, and I'm so happy for those guys. But and some of the characters got to jump to that show, but mine didn't. I somehow, and I don't know how they would incorporate that, but it would be truly awesome if I don't know if it's possible in what they're doing now to incorporate her character into the new stuff,
Yeah.
So unlike James and the rest of the crew, I have to sit on the sidelines and cry.
But you did actually get to do a brief voice in one of the recent Rebel episodes, which I believe was the season 2 finale.
Yeah, they threw me a bone.
A very nice bone for the fans and for yourself.
Right. I never saw it. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I've seen the finale. It was great.
Yeah, I need to see it, and I didn't. So I can't even say, hey, that was pretty good, because I didn't see it. It might have been terrible, but hopefully it was all right.
Well, take my word for it. It was more than all right.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. So, moving on to my third question. This is a little bit of a long-winded one, so I apologize in advance. So, even though, of course, you played Ventress in the Clone Wars series, the character of Ventress actually made her on-screen debut in the Clone Wars micro-series, which debuted in 2003. When you were cast in the role for Star Wars The Clone Wars, did you watch the micro-series for inspiration on voicing her, or did you want to do completely your own thing with the character when you got the job?
Well, it's funny, because this is sort of like how out of the loop I am when it comes to anything in the world of animation or Star Wars or anything. I have no clue. I'm like one of those people who everything I do, I just go in without having any clue of what I'm doing. So when I actually got the part, I thought that I was the first person ever voicing it. I had no idea there was I didn't even know about until after. I didn't even know. And then, of course, Gray did the voice in that series. But I never go and kind of, I feel like for me, just in my process, like I feel like it messes me up if I listen to what anybody else does. But luckily, I didn't even know that existed till after I started doing it, and then heard that I wasn't the first person who did it, and I was like, really, I wasn't. Oh, and then and Gray did such a great job, but they're completely different. I still to this, like I sort of feel. Well, I'm going to just repeat what I said, which is just that, everybody has their kind of way that they do things. And so I kind of just want to like stick to, what comes to me naturally instead of trying to imitate or do what anybody else does. And I've played some other characters that like, I feel like if I had listened to them, that I might have, tried to do some more imitating instead of just coming up with my own version of the thing, like, playing Catwoman or so, a billion people have played Catwoman. And it's really interesting because I actually I was sort of interested to know after I played Catwoman, how other people played Catwoman. And so I went back and listened to like a ton of different women over the years who have done Catwoman, and they were all totally different. And I remembered when I was younger, the only Catwoman I ever really remembered was Catwoman from the TV series from the 60s, that like even when I was younger they played those all the time. Through the 70s and the 80s they played Batman, and I loved that show. And I remembered like that Catwoman, but that was really the only Catwoman that I knew of. Oh, and maybe Eartha Kitt. I remembered hearing her Catwoman. So maybe I had a little inspiration of like feeling like Eartha Kitt, because she's definitely been an inspiration in my life in terms of her amazing voice and stuff. But that was a long-winded answer to your question, because you were specifically talking about the Clone Wars. But that was just like, it makes me think of other jobs that I've had where I could definitely go and listen to other people, but I feel like it would probably mess me up or make me feel like I sucked or something,
Yeah. I mean, you may have said it was long-winded, but I think it was actually a really good thing that you did a comparison like that. How you didn't do it on Clone Wars, but you have done it on other roles, in some cases at least, not that often, as you said. But I think what you were saying about, was actually really interesting, and I agree with it, because, it really could actually mess up an actor's performance, like yourself, if, you were to listen to someone else and then you try to imitate them. I think one of the really strong things about your performance as Ventress actually was just how, different it was. Especially, we were obviously just, a minute ago talking about her change, and I think that was one of the strengths in your performance as well. Like, you made the change feel natural. Like, and that was coming from doing your own thing with the character. So I think that was a really good thing to say about, not trying to draw that much inspiration. Just do your own thing. If people like it, they don't. And in your case, people did like it. So, that was the good thing.
And, and it's interesting because, it's like, there's like some amazing voiceover women, and and they I just feel like what makes them amazing is they also do their own thing, as well. And so and also, it's kind of like, if I wanted to just sound like like Grey doing what she did in the when she played Asajj in the 3-minute shows on Cartoon Network, then they might as well just hire her. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like, a lot of times with shows, with different things, and like shows like, all the Marvel series and stuff, like they'll have characters that are reworked in every different show, and they'll hire someone new. And the reason why they're hiring is not because, the person wasn't amazing in the last version of that show, but because they just decide they want something new. And so you don't want to sound like what that person did before, because they're trying to hire something new. Otherwise, they would have just hired that person again, or hired you again, or you know what I mean? So the only time it happens where you want to sound like that person is when they actually ask you to sound like that character. And maybe, sadly, that person has passed away or something, and now they're revamping that character and they want to sound alike. Then they're hiring you because you can sound like. And that I did a show recently where I had to do that because the person who played the character had passed away, because it was a show that was done, a long time ago. And so they wanted to bring in this character again, and they had to find someone who would sound like her. So that was kind of cool to be able to, to do it, the imitation, because of that, because they loved the way that woman sounded before. So that's kind of fun to do too.
Definitely. And some people, of course, have very distinct voices, so, that would especially be the case.
Totally.
So, moving on to my next question. Have you read the Star Wars book Dark Disciple, based on unproduced episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars starring Ventress? If so, what did you think? Okay. No.
I haven't, and it's funny because I've been getting all these tweets from people about it, and I'm like, I need to get it and read it.
Yeah.
So you obviously did.
Yeah, I did.
I heard it's really great.
It really is. Like, it's really funny though, because while it is a really great book, it, does kind of make you feel like you wish the episode, they were, because they were unproduced episodes, it makes you wish that they were on screen, because what would have been in the book would have been amazing to see on screen.
Does she die in the book?
Well,
or you're not allowed to answer that. You don't want to ruin it for other
no, I'm not allowed. I have a professional thing to do here.
people. I'm like, oh, no, but I totally have to read it.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing such amazing things about it. So that I wish I had read it. My life has been so crazy lately that I've been really bad about usually I read a lot. But in the last month and a half, I haven't been doing any reading. I have this other little habit that I do full time. I play poker as well. And so I've been busy playing a lot of poker tournaments and not reading. So it's definitely on my list, and I'm going to read it this summer.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know what you think of it when you do read it.
I for sure will.
Yeah. So, moving on to my next question. What have been the biggest challenges you've faced in your career as an actress, if you can think of any?
I've been asked this question before. And I always try to think of I think, being an actor person, and since I'm a voiceover person now, which is sort of much different than being an on-camera actor. I mean, back when I was an on-camera actor, I think that brings a whole set of challenges that I don't have anymore. Like the things we were talking about, what you look like, aging, things that become issues for friends of mine that are still, doing on-camera acting. But I think that there's always a through line with, being a performer person, is that I think the only real challenge for me, because, you're never going to get every role that you audition for. And the more you do it, the more you've been in the business, you just get used to that kind of rejection. So it doesn't hurt as much as when you're younger and you're not getting all the parts you want. So that kind of stuff I'm used to. But I think, my biggest challenge, and I think for everybody, is that, just self-doubt, that sometimes you have days where you're just like, I am not great at this, or I didn't do my best in that. And so sometimes that's hard. So even if you're really successful, you still have those feelings sometimes, and you kind of have to work through it. I always think like, oh, is this going to be my last job? And here it's been like 20 something years, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still loving it, and I'm still working, but I still always have those doubts. And I think that that's the kind of thing that can get in your way, is, having those feelings. And I think those are the same feelings that everybody has, no matter what you do, and so I think that truly is like the only big challenge I can think of, because I don't have to worry about, other stuff like, oh no, I do. I did actually think of a modern day challenge that I know I have to get on the bandwagon with. And that's getting Twitter followers. That just popped in my head, because the funny thing is, the reason why I love, like I said, the reason why I love doing what I do is because I've been able to hide and have a normal life, and be regular with people and have real relationships and things like that, which is harder when you're an on-camera person. But now, especially in the last year or two, everybody's into the whole social media thing. I was never that. I was never a Twitter, or a Facebook, or Instagram, or any of those things. I kind of was pretty lame at all that stuff. But now a lot of the shows I'm on, they're sort of telling us that we need to get on the bandwagon and get with it, and get followers and get people to, and now I hear about people not getting shows and stuff because they don't have enough Twitter followers or Instagram followers or Facebook, and I think, my God, but what happened to the good old days when you got a job just because you were right for the part, or you were good at it? But the truth is that this is like a new era of how people function, and they want you to have that kind of, following. And some of my friends who, do what I do who are really, really into it and they love it. They love that challenge of like getting more followers, and they have like 50,000 followers. I think I probably have like 1,100 or 12. Yeah. Because like I've only started like doing stuff or sharing my life or sharing anything in the probably like the last month of my life. So that's a real challenge I have to work on. That's a silly challenge, but it's just like that is part of, you know, the modern day entertainment business. So I guess if anyone listens to this, hopefully you'll follow me.
Yeah.
Isn't that, it's funny.
It really is. That's like the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Like,
Isn't it
I
the
mean,
weirdest thing?
yeah, because like I'm training to be a journalist and work in the media, and like, you know, aside from doing the podcast, of course, and but like, you know, I could understand if we needed to get more followers to get like a job, though I don't think that's hit journalism yet. But that's really weird. That's a thing for voice actors now. Like,
But isn't it the craziest thing?
It
But, you know,
is.
it's not just, it's like every kind of like entertainment business. And I can't believe it because I'm like, but wait, I've been working for over 20 years and I just do what I do, and hopefully like they like what I'm doing, and then they give me more parts, and maybe if I'm right for the part, then cool, I get the part, you know? But now, I mean, it's just like I know I had like friends who work in, you know, like on camera and like the movie business, and like they were at like Sundance this year. And the biggest stars at Sundance were like all the YouTube star people, like all these people who had like, you know, like 1 billion followers on YouTube. And those were like the huge stars. And I was like, I don't even know who these people are. But that's the way it is. Like they're making bazillions of dollars having tons of followers on their YouTube channel. So I guess I have to get with the program. I got to do that. I don't know how to do it though, because I'm like, you know, part of the whole allure of being a voiceover person is that I could live in secret. And then also I could not be that interesting of a person. Now I have to pretend like I'm kind of interesting, you know?
Well, I know. If you provide live updates of each poker game you're playing, I'm sure people will want to read those.
But it's funny because I probably put more stuff about poker on my, you know, than anything because, you know, I find that easier to do for some reason than I do like my other stuff. You know, I always feel like, oh, I don't. But I mean, I guess that's just the way it is. I just kind of have to do it. I have to get with it. So that's going to be my new challenge for the year. So that's the long-winded version of the answer to your question. That's my challenge. So the self doubt that we all end up having in our lives, no matter what you do, you know, I think it's still always a challenge. And then having more Twitter followers.
Yeah. Well, we can make that a challenge for both of us then. Yeah. So
I'll follow you if you follow me.
I'm already following you, so that's covered.
I'll start following you as well.
I will too. Get over this hump.
We're gonna do this, okay? We got this.
Yeah, we totally do. So, moving on to my next question.
I'm my phone keeps messing up Skype, so if you said anything in the last like 10 seconds, I missed it. What did you say? Or you are moving on to the next question?
Yeah, I was about to move on. Basically, we were all just saying I said I already follow you, and Lawron and Lawrson were saying they're going to follow you soon. So
I love you guys. I love
I'm
you.
on Twitter now. I'm typing your name. Here we go.
I love you.
So moving on to my next question, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in the interview. You started off your career doing on-camera acting, but since then you've mostly done voice acting. Is acting in front of a camera something you're thinking about doing again at some point?
No, I don't think I mean, every once in a while, you know, I'll have like a friend have some kind of something. They're doing some funny something or like some short film, and I'll jump on that just because they're like, hey, will you be in this? So I kind of just do it for fun. But in terms of, I mean, crazier things have happened, but it's been so long, and then I would have to do things like memorize. I would have to use my brain in a way that I haven't in so many years. No, I think that ship has sailed, I think. You never know. But I don't really, it's weird because it was my whole life I thought that would be what I would be doing. But I love doing voiceover, and it's perfectly suited to my crazy self, and it brings me so much satisfaction that I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I have tons of voiceover friends who are still actor people, and they miss it if they're not doing it. But for some bizarro weird reason, I don't miss it at all. But I mean, I guess if someone offered me a TV show, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, it would be hard to say no to that.
I actually, no, it's funny because I actually have really close friends who are writers, and they're writing this show, and they're like, we wrote a part for you in it, and it takes place on this island. And I was like, you don't want to put me in your TV show. You do not want to put me in your TV show. I'm like, first of all, I would forget every one of my lines for sure. And then also, I'm so used to doing voiceover now that whenever I do like on camera interviews, I look like I'm on, well, the children might be listening to this, but the children, I look like I'm like on some like crazy, like I've been drinking too much soda. Like like I do a lot of weird facial expressions. Seeing me on camera would probably be really scary.
Have you been drinking too much soda?
I've been drinking way too much soda. No, actually, I don't even drink soda except when I go to the movies. You always got to drink a soda when you go to the movies. But no, I see myself on camera and I'm like, whoa. I'm so used to being behind a microphone. And it's so funny because we all laugh at each other when we're doing stuff and when we're recording shows, because all of us are making like the craziest facial expressions that would never look good on camera, but they're hysterical behind a microphone. So yeah, so you probably definitely don't want to see me in front of a camera. It would be scary.
I'll take your word for it. So, my final question for you, Nika, is do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
I'm always doing new stuff, which is so awesome. I mean, I just have, like a new show that just started called The Loud House. That's on Nickelodeon. That's really sweet and kind of like old school. It kind of reminds me of the first show I ever did, which is Hey Arnold. Actually, Hey Arnold, I just recorded a Hey Arnold movie. That's going to be coming out probably sometime, next year, I think. But The Loud House is fantastic. I have a new, I have a bunch of new shows that are going to be coming out. I've got a new show for Disney that's like, I got so lucky a few years ago and became part of like the sort of like Disney, like the Mickey Mouse family, and I'm Minnie Mouse's bird, so I did her little bird that lives in her cuckoo clock. So we did a show already where I played this character. Actually, it's still on. It's called Minnie's Boutique, and this character is really, really cute because she looks like a little Disney bird, but she sounds like Joe Pesci. So she's like, she's really funny. But we've got like, those are just basically shorts, but we've got a whole new show coming out called Mickey's Road Racers, and it's a really, really cute show, and so you really get to know this character, and she's funny, really, really, really funny. So I'm pretty stoked about that show. I'm trying to think if I got these few other shows that are pretty awesome. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about them. I guess I'll throw out another one. There's another show that's coming out that was based on that movie Home, which was about the little alien guy, and Netflix is doing a TV show, and I'm in that. That was really fun doing it, and so that should be coming out sometime soon. With I'm doing a bunch of video games that are pretty awesome, but I don't think I'm allowed to talk about them. I always forget what I'm allowed to talk about and what I'm not allowed to talk about. But usually with video games, they're like, it's like, you have to sign like a pile of papers like, FBI, CIA, MI6, saying that you're never going to talk to them. Otherwise, they'll take your firstborn child, that kind of thing. So I probably shouldn't talk about any of those things. But I guess those are a few projects that are pretty awesome that are coming out. I'm not very good at selling myself. I should be better, right? Aren't I supposed to be better? That way I get more Twitter followers.
Well, you were selling yourself very well. That's a lot more. You talked about a lot more things that are coming up than some of our guests have.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel so bad. I was like, oh man, I should have been good about getting that together. But yeah, so those are some of the things that are really fun.
That's really exciting. I didn't actually know that America had an MI6 now.
They don't. They don't. I was adding in a little, over the pond.
Yeah.
Over the pond stuff.
A little plug for me.
Yeah, a little plug for you.
Yeah, not that I work for MI6.
No,
but
or not that you could tell us if you did.
I could, yeah, exactly.
Right.
But yeah, it's all very exciting, and we'll be sure to keep an eye out for all of the projects you did talk about that are coming up. So thank you very much for answering all of my questions, Nika. I'll let my co-host.
So my pleasure.
I'll let my co-host Lawron ask his now.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. So first of all, I love the Clone Wars. I live, eat, and breathe the Clone Wars. You can ask any of my friends. That drive them crazy. But I appreciate your work so much. And Ventress is one of my favorite characters. And yeah, I love the show. And I thought you'd like to know that.
That's amazing. Thanks for the love.
Yeah,
really
so my first question, what are some of your favorite behind the scenes memories that you've had from working on the Clone Wars?
It's really hard to think of specific moments because, I mean, the cast. You probably know Clone Wars way better than I do because, you're such a fan. So you can only imagine that, like, every single person that I got to work with, was amazing and funny and crazy. And I wish I could think of, like, I mean, what's really fun is when we get to go do, kind of, going to Florida for the doing conventions are really, really fun because it's so rare when I actually get to hang out with the cast, in a personal way. All of us have been working together for years and years and years. So, like, James and D Baker, who's one of my favorite people on the planet. So is James, but they're not only are they like the most talented humans, but they're also incredibly nice, incredibly funny, incredibly creative and everything. So, it's not behind the scenes working on the actual show that I got to like do some like funny hangs with them, like every session working with those guys is a joy. I wish I could come up with something funny to tell you, something specific, but my brain isn't working so well this morning. I mean, like it's just every single session was amazing with them. I mean, every single session, and they're really good because they actually know way more about the Star Wars world than I do. I mean, they're Star Wars geeks too, A lot of the cast like knew everything about the world. I was not one of those people. So they had to kind of inform me about everything, but they know every single storyline. They know everything. So that was a really lame answer to your question because it was one of the best shows I've ever worked on. I mean, those guys are so incredibly talented that it was just like, we'd just sit back and watch each other work, And it's like when you get to watch I can think of things like, when James does, like 80 million characters. And did you ever hear him do one of those things?
Yeah,
James Arnold Taylor.
Actually. Yeah. I get
to watch that stuff all the time. like him doing like 60 characters in 60 seconds. Like mind blowing. And then D is, you know, do you know Frank Welker? The voiceover actor Frank Welker?
The name
He was
sounds
like the old school dude who would do like he could do everything from like every sound of an animal to like a door opening and like do that with it. Well, D was kind of like the guy coming up, like the younger version of him. And so D will like sit in a session and make a sound of like a door opening or like a cricket, you know? And those are the kind of things he did all the time. Just like funny, genius, awesome stuff. The two of those guys, it's like ridiculous. And D was on like, I've been working with D since probably like for at least 20 years. The second show I was ever on called Mike, Lou, and Og, D and I was Mike and he was Og. So like I've been working with that guy forever and he is just a genius. So that's a really bad answer to your question, but
no, that was great.
I guess what I wanted to say is that like working with these guys brings your game to a whole other level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you said when you were saying how, you know, they would each, you know, they would each inform you about something different about Star Wars. And I think that's kind of great. The great thing about Star Wars is because it's so massive and expansive and like, I feel like every person you talk to will know something different about it. You know what I mean? And so there's always, you know, something new in Star Wars, something fresh to kind of latch on to. And I think that's what I've always loved about Star Wars as well. And I think it's great that when you talk to those guys, when you talk to D and you talk to James, you know, you got those different things from them.
100%, all of those guys. And like, you know, like Kat Tabor, like they all know, you know, everything. It's because they're into it. They geek out just like everybody else, you know, just like, you know, most people who are working and like the you know, like Dave Filoni, I mean, you know, he was like, he does what he does, but he was a Star Wars geek before he was doing it. You know what I mean? This was like a dream for him. And so now he's the guy who gets to like create all the stuff. Imagine that.
Yeah.
That's just like mind blowing. Imagine like this being your whole life. And then someone says, hey, I'm going to give you a job. And now you get to like run the show and make it all happen and create this whole new world, new part of this world, new part of this universe. Wow. That's just awesome.
Yeah. That's incredible. I can't imagine what that must feel like, but
I think he's living the dream, baby.
Given the fact that you guys have worked together so long, just the whole Clone Wars team, I would imagine that over time you guys would, you know, become really good friends, if not, you know, almost like family. And how early on did you guys know about the Clone Wars' unfortunate cancellation? Like, what were the reactions from the cast and crew like?
Oh, it was such a bummer. It was such a bummer. Like, what would have been really great is if we could have just jumped over to Disney. But I mean, I guess contractually or whatever, we couldn't do that, you know, and that's why they also had to just start a new show, you know. But, you know, it was pretty devastating because we felt like we were just sort of like at the beginning of what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. And we had all gotten so close and, you know, and then like people were like, it became like, you know, like I said, there were many more people in the cast, like Ashley, you know, who like started to make like that whole world became her world. I mean, she started a whole other business with her universe and stuff, you know, because she was so in love with the world that I think, you know, at first, you know, not knowing where she was going to be with the new show or whatever. I mean, I know it was devastating for her, you know, because she had committed so much of her heart to not just the show, but then, you know, like basically start like making her life about it, you know? So I know for someone like her and some other people in the cast where it really, really was like everything to them, that it was completely devastating. For me, you know, I thought like, oh man, I wish there had been a way that we could have at least jumped over to kind of finish up, or at least finished up, you know, some of the really important storylines. So I just kind of felt like, I mean, I guess it's sort of the same like feeling when people like, you know, when you have a breakup and, you know, one person like didn't want to do the break, one person didn't want to break up, but one person did.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, wait, but I still love you. I love you. And so that's kind of basically how I felt like I just was in a breakup that I didn't want to be part of. I didn't want to. So yeah, I was pretty bummed out because, no matter how you slice it, to be a part of that world and to be a part of the Star Wars family is like, it's an honor,
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
felt like, Asajj was like was so different than so many of the characters I had been doing, and I'd been doing voiceover for a really long time. And I felt like, oh, wow, we're just getting started with her character. And now it's got to go bye-bye. And I don't know if she's ever going to come back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you learn, you just have to let it go. You just have to let it go. Otherwise, it's like, And then luckily, there were a bunch of characters that they did make, that did get to come back on the new show, another new show. So, like I said before, I think, and when I was answering another question, that I don't know how they could do it or what they're going to do or if it's ever possible, but it would be great if Asajj came back so that she could become this whole other person that she was turning into.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to have to like get everyone to tweet that request out. Tweet.
Believe me, we can start a Twitter war here.
Yeah, Twitter
Me and Rory.
war.
And the connections we could start.
Right?
We could
Dave
bring back
Filoni.
Ventress.
Everybody misses Asajj. Don't you understand? The pain. The pain. Yeah.
She's one of the most complex characters in the show. I mean, after that whole betrayal situation in season 3, it really changed things up. So I imagine a lot of people know what's going to happen to the end of this character. You know what I mean?
I know. I felt the same way that everybody else did because, we, like I said, we don't. The Star Wars stuff is so top secret that like they don't even let you in till, right when you're going to get this, right when you get the script. Mm-hmm. And then, even then it's like, you can't, you just don't know what's going to happen. So, I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of miracle situation that's going to happen. Maybe she's going to get her own spin-off show.
Hey, I'd watch it.
It's just a spin-off, baby.
Well, thank you very much for that. I have one more question for you. What advice would you give to anyone looking to get into the voice acting industry?
It's an interesting time because, when I started voiceover, it was still it still was kind of untouched by the kind of entertainment world that we think of, like the star power entertainment world. It was still a lot of sort of, like just a bunch of us like weirdo geeks who like love doing voices and who had a passion for bringing these characters to life. And little by little over the years, it's definitely turned into more of a Hollywood thing. So it's not as pure as it used to be. And so I would say that you have to find your own voice. You have to figure out what makes you special and not try to do what other people are doing because you want to stand out, because that's the only way now, because of this whole like star power thing and because of social media and because you want to be able to get what you do out there and stand out from the crowd. That's really important. And the other thing is if you really want to do voiceover, the only way you're going to have a long career is if you can do a lot of voices. So you just want to start working on all the things that you're good at, all the voices that you're good at. You don't want to just do one thing, and you don't want to just focus on the sound of your voice. You got to be able to change your voice. You got to be able to age yourself up or age yourself down, because that's another way you're going to get cast, is if you can play little kids, if you can play older people, if you can play evil, if you can play cute. And so really work on a range of characters. I think that's most important, because a lot of times too, when they hire you, they want you to be able to do more than just one voice. they want you to be able to do 3 or 5 voices. You know, in a video game, you can do a lot. Sometimes I'll do like, I don't know, 10 voices in a game at the same time in the same session. In shows, sometimes they want you to be able to do up to 3 characters. So it's not just your main character that you're doing. You're doing a bunch of other characters. So I think those are the most important things. Find your own voice, what you're really, really good at, and get really good at that. And then expand your range so that you can show them that you can do a lot of things, so that, you know, if you're not getting the lead, you're a really good utility player. Because everybody, like if you listen to all the best voiceover people, a lot of times they're not the lead in the show, but they're the person who's doing the other 10 characters, you know?
Yeah.
Or 3 characters or 5 characters. They're playing all the other characters in the show besides the lead. So I would say that, like, starting with those kind of those ideas, and maybe is that too like ethereal? Do you need like specifics about what you need to do to get into it, or does that work for the answer?
Yeah, that was perfect. That was the perfect answer. It really makes sense, because I asked that question a lot, and I feel like everyone has a different answer, because I mean everyone has been through different things, but that one was actually, it was very, very informative, and I'll be sure and tell my friends who are trying to get into voice acting that.
Having that range.
Yes, ma'am.
You know? And also, you know, like I always say, you know, for people, practice on the mic, because you want to get really comfortable behind the mic. You know, that's the first thing you want to do. So if you can get into a voiceover class, you know, like even for 6 weeks to just get comfortable behind a mic, and then you want to make your reel, your demo reel, and have as many characters, but make sure all of them are really strong and that you're really, really happy with it. Because there aren't that many voiceover agents. And you want it, like when you send it to them, you want them to go, whoa, this person is really, really good. Don't send anything that you don't feel 100% about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that. That really helps. And that was really an excellent answer.
Thanks.
Well, thank you again for answering all of my questions. Now, let our co-host Lawrson ask his questions. Now he's got a couple questions for you.
Hi, Nika.
Okay, cool. Hey!
I just have a few questions for you. So I see that you've won the BTVA People's Choice Voice Award, Acting Award for Best Female Performance in a Television Series and Supporting Role in an Action Drama Series for your role as Ventress, which I am a fan of. She's one of my favorite characters in the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I also saw that you won Best Vocal Ensemble in a Television Series and Action Drama Series. So, like, you have all these awards, and, you know, this is all just coming at you really fast. How did you feel after getting these awards, like, you know, like, for Ventress, like, her specifically? Like, how did that, you know, change your career?
I don't know if it actually changed my career. It really didn't. I don't know if I saw like a spike in like jobs. Like, you know, I don't think that's what it changed for me. Like for me, more importantly than any of that stuff, was that it made me feel like those awards are about, you know, everybody that you're working with, you know, not like I felt like appreciated, not just by fans, but also by, you know, people that I work with. Like, we all get to appreciate each other, you know, and that award, the people who run those awards are people that really, you know, it's all about voice acting. And so, you know, to be appreciated by your peers and stuff is the highest of high compliments. And then, you know, so I just felt like, you know, I work with such amazing, talented people, and, like, you know, other women that I work with that are so unbelievable. And so when you get chosen, I never like to compare myself to other voiceover actresses, because there's so many. You know, there are a bunch of unbelievable voiceover actresses, and they do what they do, and I do what I do, and I love it when they get appreciated. And so you know, to be sort of like, you know, to get that honor, you know, when I was up against other women that are unbelievable, you know, I just felt like, wow, this is so great, because I've been doing this for so long, and it just kind of makes me feel like, oh, that's another achievement in my life that I can, like, you know, cross off the list. I try not to get too, you know, whether someone tells me I'm awesome or whether someone tells me I suck, I try not to like make that too much a part of who I am, because I think you can get caught up in it, you know? And I sort of feel like I'm only as good as the last thing I did, you know what I mean? And who knows where my career is going to go. But every job I get, or anytime I'm, you know, told that I'm great, I just appreciate it like it's the first time it ever happened. And then I try to just like let it go and go, thank you so much. Awesome. Now I'm moving on, and I need to continue to give great work. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's like Asajj, and now Asajj is sleeping for a while unless she comes back in another show. But I have to like hopefully find another role where I can blow people's minds, you know, because that's what I want to do. That's what you like when you're creating characters, and as artist people, it's like that's what you want to do. You want to like make people go, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. So now I just feel like, so that made me feel appreciated, and I really appreciate being appreciated. Now I just don't want to get lazy and make that the only great thing that I've done. I just need to like go on and hopefully create something awesome and great that someone can, you know, give me another award for.
Absolutely. And you know, when you mentioned other characters, that brought up another question in my mind. How easy is it, or how hard is it to transfer, you know, to like move on to a different character after you've been a character for so long, as far as voice wise? Like, is that transition easy?
You know, I think for all voiceover people, they probably say the same thing. It kind of just goes back to what I was just talking about before, about having like range in the characters that you do. You know, a lot of times when you're on a show, you have to jump from character to character in the same show.
Absolutely.
And so I think we like, most of us voiceover people are just naturally freaks. You know what I mean? Like, we're just like, I'm always having conversations in my head with many different characters. You know, it's like, I don't even think about it. It just naturally happens. And so I've done plenty of shows where I actually have to talk to myself. You know, I once like was in the show where I was like twin brothers, and I had to like talk back and forth, you know? And so it's like, you get used to being able to do that stuff, and you just naturally do it. And I don't even want to say it's because like, yeah, we're so great. No, I think, you know, if that's what you do, if you're a voiceover person, for the most part, if that's what, you know, that's what you do, you get used to being able to jump back and forth between characters and do it pretty seamlessly. And so, and also it's like, I do a bunch of, you know, shows in a week that are completely different, you know, and so, I somehow can let go of the character that I, you know, just did in another show to jump. And weirdly, even though I have the worst memory in the world, I can still remember, you know, jumping into another character. I can still remember who that character is, especially if I've been doing them for a long time.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. So that was actually all the questions I had. Thank you so much for
You're so welcome.
Answer those so intricately.
My pleasure.
I'm gonna pass you over to our host Ruari. I'm pretty sure he's gonna run you through how the rest of the show is gonna go.
Okay, cool.
Wait, what does that mean? That sounded very intimidating, Lawrson.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I think this is the scary part we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, is this when I'm supposed to start drinking my mimosa?
Yes, actually.
Take the edge off.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the edge off. I, for the record, Nika, I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. Anyway,
they're trying to make you nervous.
It actually never works. I have like this immune system that doesn't get nervous.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like impossible. But anyway, that's you know, neither here nor there.
I want to be you for a day.
Well, I want to be you for a day.
You guys just like switch everything just for one day. Just just
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would, yeah. Anyway, Nika, that's all of our questions for you today. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah, and hopefully
Thanks for including me.
You're very welcome. Hopefully we can talk to you again at some point.
I would love that.
That's great. So I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
You too.
Have a good day.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So I'm going to run you through what's going to happen for the rest of the show, Larson.
It was kind of rolling with it. I had to just keep going. I couldn't stop myself.
You should have seen the face I just gave you. It was hilarious.
I know. I was like, I'm going to throw Rory off guard. I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah. So that is not very nice of you, Larson.
Yeah. I am so sorry.
He's not sorry.
I didn't know that would throw you. Honestly, I didn't know that would throw you off guard.
It did. No, it didn't throw me off. No.
When she was in The Brave and the Bold, I got kind of starstruck. So that's one of my favorite shows.
It makes sense. Yeah, so that was our interview with actress Nika Futterman. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I hope you enjoyed listening to Nika saying she wants to be me.
Oh, we're never gonna let that one go.
That is
No.
quoted.
That's going in the blooper reel.
Put that on the front of the door of his wall.
His head. Like he's gonna staple it.
He's gonna tattoo it on his forehead.
I, for the record, I am completely against tattoo, so that is not happening. I felt like I should clarify that.
That was really awesome of her.
Yeah, but who would want to be me for a day in comparison?
I mean, some people.
Ireland sounds nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, in comparison to the person who voiced Ventress, who would want to be me?
Hey, it's Ventress. You never know what's up.
I mean, hey, you interviewed the person who voiced Ventress, so...
Hey, you have a point. Anyway, so that was our interview with actress Nika Futterman. Are you both ready to wrap up today's show?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
So make sure to check out our podcast links, check out our website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comic Cast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the host's YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/Separatist Lawron's is www.youtube.com/user/StarLegend9595. Check out Larson's Instagram, www.instagram.com/LDPinson. Check out Nika Futterman's website, www.nikafutterman.com, and check out Channel 1138 broadcast live from www.channel1138.com. So geeks out, everyone.
Geeks out.
Geeks out.
Video games are constantly that. And so they're the most strenuous. So you really, like, for example, if I'm going to do a video game, I'll know that it'll be at the end of the week. So I will schedule my video game sessions for the end of the week because I don't want to strain my voice, and at least I'll have the weekend.
Oh, my biggest piece of advice to anyone who wants to be an actor. I guess it's a tough question because there's so many pieces of advice that I would like to give, but I mean, really, if I had one biggest